Meeting of September 21st, 2011. Cody, could I have a roll call, please? Oh, first Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Roll call now?
Jessica Holb,
Here.
I'm sorry. Counselor Holbrook. Counselor Sullivan.
Here.
Counselor DeAndrea.
Here.
Counselor Rancourt.
Here.
And Vice Chair Frazier.
Here, thank you. All right, item 4 is a period of time for general public comments. Anyone in the public wish to spend a few, as in 3 or 5 minutes, with general public comments? 3, I guess it is.
My name is Martin Tripp, and I come here again, mostly talking about money. And my concerns tonight are the sidewalks in the Oak Hill and the proposed Higgins Beach sidewalk. The town spent $1 million to build a sidewalk to Saco, and I thought that was a good idea because it might save a life. But you know, like driving up from Saco coming north, and there's a guy in dark clothes texting on his machine, and he's walking on the right-hand side of the road. If I hadn't been careful, he'd have been dead. You got to get some worth for your money. To invest $1 million in a sidewalk, and when I talk to people, they see people driving or going up on the northbound side. You're not getting any value for your money. That's too much money for somebody who's not going to listen to you anyway. That's $1 million shot. This Oak Hill thing that was discussed last week, they're talking about $100,000 for it to cross the road. And I don't know if that was each individual crossing, one side to the other, or each corner was $100,000, or $120,000 if you wanted to do it right. That's a lot of money. This is not an ad hoc committee when you have a councilman or woman and 2 guys trying to sell a project. These are 2 guys trying to sell their product. The other thing on the Oak Hill section, I have never passed that high school where I have seen anybody cross in the same spot. Everybody that goes up and down that road, when they cross the road, a pedestrian crosses wherever they want. I've never seen the same spot used twice. Maybe I don't go there a lot, but everybody crosses just like it's a pasture. To think that this is going to help at the cost of the funds that would have to be used is incredible. Now, there was talk about a beach, a sidewalk on the beach, and that, I guess, would be between Pearl Street and down to Morning Street. That's going to constrict the road. The roads are narrow enough as it is. If it's a raised sidewalk, you're going to push the cars out further. If it's a raised sidewalk, you're going to have water issues for drainage. And if you have those kind of issues, then you're going to have drainage issues, and you're going to have to perhaps dig down. And if you do a kind of sidewalk that they did up above as a retaining wall and a sidewalk, it costs you a fortune. I figure it's $120,000 just to do a flat sidewalk raised 5 inches.
Could we summarize, Mr. Tripp?
I got a couple, just a few more things.
Well,
This Black Point Park, I asked about who authorized the slide. I'd like to know who authorized a bicycle rack when there's all sorts of fencing there you could lean your bicycle on. And I have just one more I'll give you. I got more stuff, but we'll let it go. $140 million for Wentworth School after you include that in the town's debt. That's $7,000 plus per person in debt in the town. You may need school. I don't disagree with it. But you don't need all these other projects that are $100,000 here and $120,000 there, and $5,000 here and $5,000 there. If you want the school, do the school. But don't do all these crazy sidewalks and things when you can't afford it. You know, that's enough for tonight. I'll say some more.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. Anyone else? Nancy, and then lady in the back.
I'm Nancy Kroll, a library director, and one of my roles in the community is to make sure we all have information about emergency preparedness. And this is Emergency Preparedness Month. And I have brochures available at the public library, but I also brought a supply with me tonight, and I'll just pass them down the rows. Please take one or more if you have other members of your family who might be interested in the information. But essentially, be ready to leave your home or be ready to stay in your home and be ready for emergencies is a very simple message. And the information I have for you tonight is how to set yourself up with a go kit or a ready kit. Very basic essentials you're going to have in your home, but the idea is to keep them all in one place. So if you need to go, they're all there for you. You don't need to spend hours looking for them. So I hope we all take a moment and review what we have to be prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And there was a young lady in the back?
Is this a good time to address the ordinance for anti-pesticide use on
Can you
the,
address it now or at the time that we bring it up for discussion?
Okay,
Now you
well-
have 3 minutes, if you could just state your name
Sure.
and your address.
my name is Joan Scott Condelmo. I live at Higgins Beach, right with the abutting Rachel Carson area. And I have been a teacher of students with learning disabilities for the town of Scarborough schools. I'm a grandmother and a mother, and my daughter Terry, who is now taking her daughter to Stanford to start her school year, is the adult supervisor for the Ecos Club at Scarborough High. And I have with me some nice young people who have decided to come and speak also. We all feel that it's extremely important for you to consider this ordinance against pesticide use on all public lands for the schools, and we wish you will address this and make it happen. We are so happy to hear about this and the possibilities, and we're just here for it. So I don't know if you want the girls to come up and say anything at this point, but they're here,
Okay.
and we're happy that they're here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think, is it an ordinance or a policy that we're considering?
It's a policy.
Okay, it is a policy we're considering.
Wrong word.
All right. Anyone else? 3 minutes? Or you can come up and speak to that specific discussion at the time that it's announced. Or both.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm actually the president of ECOS at Scarborough High School. The pesticide issue has been a severe issue because there was a dog killed and a lady got her dog operated to see what the cause was, and they analyzed it and they said it was because of pesticides. And we know that pesticides can cause diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and ADHD. And problem we've had is with the pesticides get in the water, and the water leaks down to places like the Wentworth School, and kids drink from that water, and kids play in that water outside, and it's just not healthy and not eco-friendly. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, yes, sir.
Well, on the same topic, my name is Jim McMahon. I'm a pediatrician, and
Address, Jim?
67 Burnham Road.
Thank you.
In medicine, we try to weigh risk and benefits all the time. And as a pediatrician, I'm always involved in this debate about immunizations with patients who have fears of that. And I'm aware of the patients weighing risks and benefits. I'm weighing risk and benefits. But with immunizations, I see a real benefit. And there may be some risks. With pesticide use, I'm not sure I see all the benefits, and I see all the risks and the costs. We're not sure of what they do. We know they are poisons. They have biological activity that are subtle, may work on fetuses and babies more than older people. And what do you get for them? A lot of expense and a few less dandelions. And I don't think they justify spraying town land with them. If we can keep them out of town, out of our neighborhood, out of anywhere, I'd be all for that. But I just thought I'd say that.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Tracy Konopinski, and I work with Toxics Action Center. Let me just start by thanking the Town Council for considering this pesticide policy. Toxics Action Center, we're a nonprofit that works across Maine side by side with communities to clean up and prevent pollution. And the Citizens for a Green Scarborough asked us to speak here tonight. So I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed pesticide policy that will limit the use of pesticide on public lands in Scarboroughs. And I would like to urge you to pass this policy and just keep it as strong as possible, including the management of athletic fields. So I'll keep my comments brief and just make two main points. One is local concern about the unnecessary use of pesticides and the potential impacts on human health and the environment is just widespread and growing. We don't see it ebbing anytime soon. Just over the past year and a half, our staff has worked actively with concerned citizens from 11 communities, including Brooksville and Camden, Cumberland and Falmouth, Gorham and Hiram, Kennebunk, Ogunquit, South Portland, and Yarmouth. So additionally, representatives of over 25 towns have attended last year's pesticide summit. And in all of these cases, residents have approached us for help minimizing exposure to pesticides. And as you know, Camden's organics policy, which is the most similar to the one that you're considering here, has just been really successful and well received. So we expect more and more towns to go through this process over the next couple of years and see this pest policy is just a great opportunity for a town like Scarborough to get ahead of the curve. Second is science shows that without a doubt children are just more vulnerable to the health effects associated with exposure to pesticides, and this is why we think it's important for places where children congregate, like athletic fields, to be included in the policy. We also just know that exposure to pesticides can trigger asthma attacks and attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity. The National Academy of Sciences, as well as the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection, have both concluded that children are just more susceptible than adults to pesticides and other environmental toxins for just the simple understanding that children are smaller, their systems aren't fully developed, and they're therefore just more vulnerable. So I'm not saying that we're lawn care specialists or turf management specialists, but there are just many examples of towns and regions that have effectively managed fields and turf without pesticides in a cost-effective way. So for example, Marblehead, Massachusetts adopted an organic pesticide management policy, just like the one that you're considering. And then a March 2010 report, which I'd be happy to give you if you don't have it, on the cost of this policy reveal that the cost of natural turf management is incrementally higher in the first couple of years, the first 2 years, but then just decreases significantly.
Could you summarize, Tracy?
Yes, it decreases significantly and over time can actually have cost savings of 25%. And so thank you again to the members of the Town Council for considering this policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Ms. Helms?
My name is Sue Helms. I live at 10 Puritan Drive here in Scarborough, and I'm standing before you asking also for you to really be very, very important and careful as you are passing this policy. I think it's vastly important that we do it. I'm coming from a little bit different perspective. I'm glad that the young lady in front of me talked about cost. I want you to know I'm retired. My husband is retired. We are on a fixed income family. We know that the cost will be higher to the town, and we are willing to pay it because we think it's that important for future generations. The other piece that I want you to know is I'm looking at this from a slightly different perspective. As many of you know, who are sitting at the board up there anyway, is that I'm the retired principal from Blue Point School here in Scarborough. I was principal there for 14 years. And for 14 years, I had to explain to parents that no, we could not spray the playground. Yes, their kids were getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. And yes, taking ticks off children was a daily occurrence because of our proximity to the marsh. I am hoping that if the town passes an organic policy, then it will then be permissible to also spray the school playgrounds, and some of this will not happen anymore for children and faculty going outside to recess. So I would urge you to pass this policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? This is the general public comment period. Again, we'll be deliberating on this later on in the evening, if you have something to say. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Name and address, please.
My name is Marla Zando, and I live at 6 Mitchell Hill Road in Scarborough, and I represent a group called Citizens for a Green Scarborough. We're a group of concerned citizens, and we include parents of college-age children, parents of toddlers, parents of teenagers, grandparents, a toxicologist, an attorney, landscapers, a small business owner, and many others. Some in our group don't even have children, but we all agree that the health of children in our community is extremely important, and the town's use of pesticides is a really great concern of ours. It's a personal concern of mine. I have a toddler, and I've decided that we as a family won't visit such community spaces as Memorial Park. At the moment, we don't know what's been sprayed on the grass or when. So we just avoid it, at least for now. But if this new pest management policy is passed by the town council, I would feel comfortable bringing my son there. Ultimately, I think that we as a community need to be okay with weeds. We have to understand that a perfectly green lawn may look nice, may look very nice, but how healthy is it for our children to play on grass that's been treated with herbicides? These chemicals they're meant to kill things. I have to say that I actually like to see dandelions on a lawn because that usually means that the grass has not been treated with herbicides. And I love that the Scarborough Public Library does not spray their lawn. This past spring, I saw hundreds, if not thousands, of dandelions on the grass, and honestly, I thought it looked beautiful and healthy. Over the past year, I've seen the time and effort that the ordinance committee has put into this proposed policy. I think it's the right policy and the right time for Scarborough to make a switch to organic lawn care methods, just like the towns of Camden, Brunswick, Rockport, Agunquit, and Castine. If it costs more to use these organic lawn care methods, then it's money well spent, in my opinion. I support this new policy, and I hope that the town council will support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Eddie Wooden, 34 Clearwater Drive. I'm here to support the proposed pesticide anti-program. And I want to thank the Ordinance Committee in particular for spending significant time in review and in educating. We went to 4 meetings with them. Thank you. Marla was one of the originators of this effort. She came at this from the standpoint of a 2-year-old daughter. I was the other originator coming at it from a nature standpoint. We knew Karen was a birder and a naturalist. We approached her and the process began. I am coming from both now, but from a nature standpoint, Scarborough is blessed with great natural resources. The marsh, the shellfish, the birds, it provides recreational income for this community, and in particular shellfish. My concern is from 95 to 207, Friends of Casco Bay, pesticide use increased sevenfold to over 6 million pounds per year in Maine. Here in Scarborough, I see you folks, and thank you for your time, and Tom Hall's done well piloting this, as a tip of the iceberg. We have municipal properties, but the homeowner is really the other 90% of this. And you have the opportunity to show leadership and to set an example, which then would reverberate and help through an entire community. In Canada, there are entire communities that have gone no pesticide. And in New York State, on the school and municipal properties, they have really rescinded. My message is abstinence. I have a significant property on Grandin Pond. There's not a chemical on it. We use water. I picked the dandelions, I agree. Dandelions, exercise is great. Through the 4 meetings, we discovered that Roundup, we all know what Roundup is, killing, dying, is used and applied on baseball infields. If I were a parent and had a son sliding into second base or a daughter sliding in, I would have great concerns. Dust and airborne with these chemicals are very toxic. These chemicals will not affect everyone, but it's the vulnerable people that we are particularly interested in. And that's the cutting line. It's those who are so vulnerable. Cost-wise, you've been spending $90,000 a year for treatment of properties. My suggestion is that's almost $1/10,000,000, and it's never gone out to bid to my knowledge. And it should go out to 3 bidders. I'm in business, 3 bids. I think that could have been reduced to $75,000 to $80,000. If the organics are another $10,000 to $20,000, you might even be breaking even with organics with the same amount. And further, I think it should go out to bid to Scarborough residents to be included within that, which from my knowledge has not happened to this point. So thank you. You're the tip of the iceberg, and we encourage you to show the great leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on past general public comment periods, and item 5, minutes from September 7th, 2011 regular meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, amendments, adjustments? All in favor? Show that to be unanimous. Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, the treasurer warrants I'll be signing during the course of the meeting. And first order, Tony.
Order number 1167 is a 7 p.m. public hearing and second reading on the proposed amendments to Chapter 405, the zoning ordinance, Section 12, sign regulations.
Okay, thank you. Tom, any introduction here?
Briefly, though, I see Dan Bacon here. I think he's certainly more adept at talking about the particulars here, but this is a matter that was taken up initially with the ordinance committee, and it's made its way through that process and finds itself before town council. I believe you've already acted in first reading, so it's back in front of you for final consideration. The planning board has, in fact, taken the matter up and provides some fairly detailed comments and some recommendations. I just want to point out were in your packet as well.
Right.
So with your indulgence, I would suggest you hear from Dan. Perhaps he can give you a more technical review.
Okay, very good. Dan, just a few minutes to bring us up to speed.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank
Dan
you.
Bacon, Town Planner. As the Town Manager has outlined, this has been through Ordinance Committee and first reading and Planning Board public hearing. Really, the thrust of the changes are in the sign regulations that apply to time and temperature signs, as well as electronic message signs. The time and temperature sign amendments would eliminate the current required distance between signs that can have time and temperature. Right now, it's roughly a half a mile, 2,500 feet. The proposal is to eliminate that, so really any sign that's allowed to have, any business sign allowed in town could have time and temperature displayed on it. The other change regarding time and temperature is to no longer limit the location of where it says time and temperature on the sign to 10 feet or less, given that some signs in town are allowed to be 16 feet, up to 16 feet in height. And in terms of electronic message signs, which is really the thrust of the changes, at least as discussed by the ordinance committee, is to eliminate the current limitation on the colors of text on electronic message signs. Currently, only white or gold letters are allowed. So removing subsection 6C would eliminate that limitation. It also would eliminate the requirement for a black background and allow for pictures, graphics, photographic images to be displayed on electronic message signs. That's not currently allowed. And lastly, under the last section of amendments, the proposal is to set an actual minimum text size of 8 inches and a maximum of 12 inches, really aimed at ensuring that electronic message sign messages are large enough for motorists traveling at 35, 45 miles per hour on our main roads, so they're not too small, but not so big that they're overwhelming to readers. And lastly, the proposal is to eliminate the current limitation of 3 lines of text. So that's an outline of the proposed amendments, and the planning board did have some reservations about some of these changes. I think in particular, I think unanimously the board was concerned about allowing for graphics, pictures, images on electronic message signs, and they also objected to opening up a wide variety of colors for letters and background. They felt that white and gold letters provide some consistency, separate Scarborough's signage perhaps from other highway development, north and south, east and, or I guess west, not east from here. So that was their, I think, primary concern with the changes. They had less concerns with amendments to the time and temperature adjustments. And I think most planning board members had concerns about allowing more than 3 lines of text, really from a distracted driver standpoint. They felt that currently messages are relatively short with 3 lines of text on signs we have in town today, and felt that if you go much beyond that, motorists may be taking their eyes off the wheel for extended periods of time to read the message, to understand the advertisement. So that's a quick summary of some of their positions, and you certainly have their minutes for more detailed comments by the board.
And just to, what I'm seeing is, in summary, Mr. Paul, the chairman of the planning board, stated the board was unanimous in not eliminating the limits to colors and graphics, stated that, as you said, Dan, that this text should be limited to 3 lines, and they were divided as far as the height of the letters.
Right, I think some members didn't want to change the regulations much at all, and others felt that the addition of an 8-inch minimum was appropriate and supported that.
Okay. Thank you. Dan will be around if council members want to ask questions. So at this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone want to speak to the discussion as it relates to his zoning ordinance change for sign regulations?
Some seats down here.
Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of order number 11-67.
Second.
Thank you. Do you hear a second? Thank you. Discussion.
Yes.
Councilor Nichols.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the comments of the planning board. The ordinance committee did work on this quite a bit. I think there might be some misunderstanding in what our thought process was. Obviously, the planning board had no real problem with the change to the purpose, and it looks like very little discussion or negative feeling about the time and temperature signs. The reason we did bring changes to that was that many of regular signs now include a time and temperature module on them, so that would make that actually legal now, where currently it is not under our current rules. It looks like the biggest concern is old, I guess I would say, it probably was original item C.
Yes.
the colors, and I personally don't really have any problem with that either remaining with the white or gold. Also don't have any problem with there being maybe some additional, I don't think that really identifies my town, but I'm willing to go with that. The one concern that I did have, though, about the, is the 3 lines and the 8 to 12 inches. We really had quite a bit of testimony about the size of lettering and the safety factor. Right now, our size of lettering, our minimum, isn't at 8 inches. It's quite a bit smaller, and actually, with 3 lines of text, as our language now states, you can have a lot more words that are harder to read. By increasing the letter size, you actually, because we're not changing the sign size, you're actually reducing the number of words that can be on the sign. So I just wanted to clarify those couple of factors, that we're increasing the letter size to increase safety. Whether we minimize that still to 3 lines. I think in some signs, if you use large letters, you may not even be able to have 3 lines, given the size of the sign. And that was our thinking.
So would I be correct in hearing you say that you're okay with leaving original 6C in, but all the other changes you embrace? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes,
All right, thank you.
for me.
Yes,
I'm not speaking for the whole ordinance committee.
obviously, thank you. Anyone else? Councilor DeAndrea.
Sure. This came to the ordinance committee by way of a request from a business owner who has a sign that broke. And what he began to find out, and the reason that he came to the ordinance committee to begin with, was that he was sort of finding out that the older signs now, the black with the gold or the red lettering, which are the older signs, are harder to find parts for, because signs are moving on in technology. So for example, now we have LED signs that give you more versatility. In other words, you can have more graphics on there, and things look nicer. They look like picture snapshots. And so that was the reason that he brought it to us. I agree with Carol, we spent a very long time hashing this out. I'm not a big fan of signs to begin with. I want to point out, first of all, that this doesn't increase the number of signs. That stays the same. The sign size itself stays the same, and it doesn't add any new signage. So those things don't change. Really, the only things that change are, we did increase the minimum size of the letters, as Carol mentioned, to bring that safety factor up, because we really talked about how when cars are stopped at stop signs, it looks different. Signs, lettering, size letters can be different sizes. They can be smaller because you're stopped. Whereas traffic that's moving, the size of the letters have to be larger. So we took all of that into consideration. I think we did a pretty good job with figuring out, it was a lengthy conversation, figuring out the letter size. I don't see any problem with having graphics on there. If you travel up Route 1 tonight, or have traveled that way in the last couple of days, Lois is, on her regulation Scarborough electronic sign, says that she has organic apples for sale, and she has graphics of apples on that sign. I find that in no way distracting whatsoever. We already allow graphics on business signs. If you look at Lois's regular sign, it has a little leaf on it. If you look at any other business signs, and I did hand out some examples of them, Seaport has a big star on it. There are a few signs from Scarborough, but most business signs have some sort of logo to indicate their business. So I don't see the difference between having graphics and not having graphics and making it any less safe. And I think that for businesses, because again, it doesn't increase the number of signs, which is an issue for me. It saves on resources for businesses, so saves them money. Because if they want to change a sign, they just change what the electronic sign says. They don't have to go to and buy a whole new sign and have a whole new sign made up. The LED signs will actually end up saving them money in the long run because they're more energy efficient. And those little letters that look so terrible as they're blowing down the street on windy days will cease to be a problem and a pollutant in our environment. And in fact, Tire Warehouse has a problem with teenagers liking to change those letters to swear words. So, so we won't have those kinds of problems associated with those crazy, you have to, not to mention they're dangerous, employees have to be up and down on ladders to change those signs. So I think for businesses, this is a benefit. It's something I can live with. And I can't live with a lot when it comes to signs. I certainly, this council this past year allowed more signs and bigger signs down at Cabela's Plaza. We're getting ready to add directional signs. There's 12 more of those going into town. I don't really think that that's all that great, but this is something I can definitely live with. It makes good sense for businesses. It gives them greater flexibility, it saves them resources, and it can save them money in the long run. We may not have need for things like feather signs and flag signs, because they can easily put things like open for business or sale or whatever they want that we normally use for those other kinds of extraneous signs that we see popping up alongside of the road, usually illegally.
Thank you. Anyone down here? First, this way?
Just gonna throw my 2 cents in. I'm on this committee as well. I have no problems whatsoever with the changes that are coming forward. I guess for me, what it comes down to too is, and especially when we were talking about 2 things. The first one being how many lines of text you can have. And I think, again, there was a lot of debate and discussion and information provided that as you get those letters a little bit bigger or a little bit, especially where you're still working within the same size sign, if you add a picture to this, you might have 4 lines of text, but it's 4 words. So it kind of evens itself out. The other thing was, it does allow for the pictures. Again, I don't really have any problems with this. The technology is changing. That's all it boils down to. Life and the world as we know it is changing, and the pictures and the quality of these signs is honestly not that much different than looking at your TV screen at home. So if a business wants to put a picture up of a puppy, it's picture, digital quality grade technology now on that sign. So these signs are still not scrolling, they're not blinking, they're not flashing, they're not doing any of the annoying characteristics of, you're not going to drive down Route 1 and it's look like Las Vegas. It's a picture, yes, very small picture, but a picture. And I can completely support that. It's no different to me as far as, I drove up Route 1 so I could take a look on my way in tonight. Remax has a picture of a balloon on their sign. It's illuminated from within. So to me, the difference of, there's a graphic on that sign, if it's a picture and it can change, all the less stuff to go in a landfill later if the business moves. So that's where I'm at. I support it as it is.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well,
My only comment,
yes, I forgot.
my only comment, I was going to reiterate what Jessica just said. These are, although they're pictures, they're not going to be moving pictures. They are stationary and can only move just infrequently. I think it's once every 60 minutes. So twice every so once every 30 minutes if they wanted to change it. But if they want to put up a holiday logo at the holidays or an American flag at 4th of July or what have you, they could just, but these are not going to be moving like we see in some communities.
Okay. Councilor DeAndrea?
Just one more quick thing to add. One of the things that under general provisions in the current ordinance, it says that part of the reason that we have signs is to enhance and protect the physical appearance of the community. And actually, I think that these new sort of digital LED signs will do that. I think they'll make Scarborough businesses look better. And again, it'll just look neater than, I think, those letter boards that we have now that have to be manually changed.
My opinion is pretty much consistent with the planning board's and what I had stated at our last meeting when we talked about this. I do recognize that these signs have come a long way, but I personally don't think that in the purpose where it talks about natural beauty and reduce sign or advertising distractions, I don't believe these kinds of signs move towards that goal. In fact, I think these signs can actually conflict with the purpose. I'm fine with, and I appreciate the ordinance committee's hard work and everything in this except for the 6C, if I can refer to it that way, about graphic, pictorial, and photographic images. I know that this is a very subjective area in many ways, and I appreciate that, but I would be more comfortable with employing or embracing all the changes that have been suggested with the exception of keeping 6C as opposed to striking it out. Council Holbrook's image of TVs, I think is a good one. I personally don't want to drive down Route 1 in Scarborough and get a sense that I've passed, several dozen TVs along the route. I think the town has done quite a good job over the last decade, certainly in no small part to the applicants that have come forward and built very attractive site plans and spent a lot of money. And I think we're on the right path, and I think this deviates a little bit from that. Not in a wholesale kind of way, but a little bit, and I'm afraid, or concerned rather, that over the years, we'll see these kinds of signs proliferate and become more of a distraction as opposed to less. Because I'm not convinced that a different council might not be having a discussion as to whether we're allowed moving pictures or changes every 15 minutes, and I think these signs would be more prone to be able to accept and embrace that kind of discussion. And I personally don't think that'll fit well with the high standards that we've developed over the years. So I'm opposed to the change as it relates to graphic, pictorial, and photographic images. Toward that end, I'd like to offer an amendment for consideration, if I may. I'd like to amend Order 11-67 to read that we embrace and endorse the zoning ordinance's recommendations with the exception of paragraph 6. We keep 6C as it was originally printed, and all else is fine, including the minimum of 8 and maximum of 12. I appreciate that discussion, and I agree with that. So I would like to consider an amendment that includes 6C as it was originally in the ordinance. And that would make 6.
So to striking
That would
C.
be, yeah, so that would read, yeah, strike the strike of C.
Yeah.
So it would be 6A, B, C, D, and E.
Okay. I'll second that for discussion.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Discussion on the amendment?
I think I've already stated my feeling.
Okay. Anyone else? And I don't think I can add to the discussion that, I feel supports this amendment. I don't get a strong sense that I'm getting the favor of the majority of the council, but I think it's important that at least I put my opinion out there. So all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Okay, the amendment fails. We're back to the original order as written. Any further discussion?
I guess my only, just in furtherance of your concerns, are you as wed to the white and gold versus, if we were to allow pictorial, would you want to still stay with a narrower color choice for the lettering?
Yeah, I would.
And would you want to propose that amendment?
Well, I certainly could. All right, I'll make another amendment with the pleasure of the council. I'd like to amend order number 11-67, where 6C, I guess I would implant a note on 6D that reads, electronic message sign lettering or numbering height shall be a minimum of 8 inches and/or a maximum of 12 inches, and may consist only of white or gold letters or numbers on a black background.
Second.
Discussion?
I just had a question. If, I thought there was something somewhere along the lines about, about coloring and something that was easier to read, that's less
Right.
harsh than, was that the blue?
The blue is harder to read.
Is harder to read.
Harder to read. Yellow and white are probably the best colors for
Easier.
older eyes to read. Blue and green are the worst colors for our older eyes to read.
I just had the question.
Okay. Well, I think limiting the colors to white or gold will reduce to some degree, not all my fears, but some of my fears as it relates to being a little bit too much on the sensors as we drive up and down Route 1. I think keeping a fairly consistent and predictable color will go more towards enhancing the natural beauty and appearance of our commercial corridor. Councilor Holbrook?
Can I ask another question? So I just want to clarify. So the portion where there is text to be read would have a black background with white or gold letters that does,
Right.
and that was the extent of
Right.
it, for the lettering section of where it is.
Right.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. All in favor of the amendment? Okay, that's, what is that? 4 opposed? 1? The amendment passes. Back to the main motion as amended. Discussion? Okay, all in favor of the main motion as amended? Okay. Unanimous. All right, thank you.
Order number 11-74 is a 7 PM public hearing and action on the new request for a food handler's license from Naphtali and Richard Maynard doing business as Mainly Wraps located at 360 US Route 1.
Okay, very good. I'll open up the public hearing to talk about, it was Naftali and Richard Maynard, and Mainly Wraps. Anyone in the public wish to discuss? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion from council.
Move approval?
Thank you. Discussion. Anyone? It's brand-new business. I'll say welcome to Scarborough and good fortune to you. Okay? All in favor of Order 11-74? Show that to be unanimous. Thank you.
Order 11-75 is a 7 PM public hearing and action on the new request for a massage therapist license from Jonathan D. Glidden, working at Jonathan Douglas Salon located at 253 US Route 1.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up the public hearing for Order 11-75, Jonathan Glidden, Jonathan Douglas Salon. Anyone in the public wish to talk about the subject? Welcome to Scarborough. Anything? No? I'll close the public hearing. Discussion?
Move approval.
Okay, discussion? All in favor? Show that to be unanimous. Okay, welcome to Scarborough. And now we have non-action items. We have an update from the Wentworth Building Committee, and I think Mr. Kozel is in the audience. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening. Well, as all of you know, my name is Paul Kozel. I'm the chair of the Wentworth Intermediate School Building Committee. Tonight, I wanted to provide the council with an update of our activities as we move towards the November referendum and with the vote concerning the new Wentworth Intermediate School. Since I last came before you back in July, where the council supported our project, the building committee has essentially changed from a group focused on construction and mechanics of a new Wentworth Intermediate School and is now tasked with educating and reaching out to the public and making them aware of what our project is about. We started this project, or started this new process, this summer with a strong presence at Summerfest, and have continued the process with attendance at different public events and school functions like concerts in the park, school open houses, the community services soccer kickoff, and we've continued to have a strong presence on the web. Presently, our website, newwentworth.com, and our Facebook presence has collected well over 10,000 hits. In addition, we have produced 4 flyers at this point in time concerning our project. The flyers deal with why we need a new Wentworth school, the numbers of the finances concerning the school, the outline or the overview of what the school will look like, and finally, the geothermal component of the school. And again, all those flyers are available at the website, newwentworth.com. Looking forward, the committee will now start what I consider probably the most important part of our campaign. We're going to start walking through neighborhoods. We're going to start meeting more people. We're going to attend even more public events, making folks aware of what our project is about. And the goal through this is to get the point across to the Scarborough public about the needs and necessity for a new Wentworth Intermediate School. When doing this, what we have decided as a group is that our message at all point in times is going to be positive and is going to be constructive. For example, an opinion piece recently appeared in the Portland Press Herald concerning our project. Despite the author being factually inaccurate and taking some literary liberties with some of the circumstances concerning that project, we as a committee decided not to talk about the author specifically or go after him personally. Instead, we decided to address this article head on. The first piece that we drafted as an opinion piece was drafted by Jim Weaver, a professional engineer here in Scarborough who's been practicing for over 40 years. The second piece was drafted by an architect by the name of Matt Ranger, who's been practicing for over 13 years. Again, the concept here with drafting these opinion pieces, much like our campaign, was to be positive and was to be constructive. The last item I wanted to mention tonight deals with my biggest concern. When I first appeared before the school board last year, John Cole posed a question to me. He said, "Paul, what part of this project causes you to lose sleep at night?" And at the time, I thought it was an interesting question, and I answered it in such a way by saying, "While I'm sleeping fine, John, at night, the one thing that does bother me about the project that concerns me is complacency here in the community." As I stand here today, more than 10 months later, this is still my biggest concern. There is no doubt that there is tremendous amount of support for this project. Both the building committee and I have heard that overwhelmingly from many, many people in town in support of this project. However, what we have also heard in the community is that this council in July took a vote in support of a new project, that this council approved the construction of a new school project, and that now the issue is closed. This is not the case. You know it, I know it, the building committee knows it, and we are addressing this point at every opportunity. With this being said, I say to every person listening tonight, every Scarborough resident watching this on TV tonight, if you support this project, you must vote for this project. Every vote counts. This is all I have. I just wanted to give a brief overview. I look forward to seeing everyone as we start walking through the neighborhoods and talking about our campaign, and I look forward to seeing everyone at election time casting your vote in favor of this project. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions from the council and happy to talk about this at any great length.
Any questions from councilors?
I think you're doing a great job.
We're getting there.
Paul, how often is the committee meeting in a somewhat formal fashion, and is it in fact open to general public attendance?
It is. We meet every Monday at 6:30 at this point in time, and then there's a flurry of activity that goes all week, frankly. And most nights at 10 o'clock, that's when I catch up on all the emails through the day on different parts of the project that are ongoing. But yeah, we're moving right along.
So in addition to your outreach efforts, if citizens wish to participate or attend, certainly that building committee on Monday night, they can do so.
Yes, and we welcome it. There's 3 things I'd say to that. Number 1, feel free to come to the meeting. Number 2, check out the website. We keep all of our meeting schedules there so folks can see what's up and coming. And number three, there's a component on the website for you just to sign up, leave an email address, and you'll be added to an informational list to catch periodic updates. So we really do try to reach out. The goal from day one has always been an open book concerning our activities in this project. When folks have approached us, either electronically, in person, by telephone, I've always said, come to a meeting, happy to sit down with you. If you have concerns about the project, tell me what they are, we will address them. If you have specific issues with the project, whether it be a geothermal issue, whether it be, why the classroom's this particular size, tell me what those issues are. I'll have the right people at the meeting, and we'll sit down and talk to you about it.
Okay, excellent. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no old business at this time. New business.
Order number 11-76 is act to accept 3 open space parcels of land from Norman Berube Builders, Inc. in the Windward Heights subdivision and to authorize the town manager to execute the deed.
Okay, very good. Tom?
Yes, Jim Wendell, town engineer, is here to give a little background to this, but these parcels were considered and contemplated as part of the original subdivision plan. This is kind of a housekeeping issue, wrapping up the subdivision. Jim has done a great job of seeing all these projects through their completion, and this represents really the final component to accept the deed for the open space. So if you're willing, Jim's here to just offer a few comments to orient you to the parcels.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening, Jim.
Hi, Mike, Council. Yes. Over the last couple of years or so, staff has casually contacted Sue Berube to kind of get a discussion going with what her feeling plans were for that open space. And it led recently to her decision or choice to offer it up to the town as a donation. And we think the 3 parcels are key to integrating the comprehensive plan's intent for open space and recreational access to the Nonsuch River corridor. These 3 parcels essentially connect the parcel we acquired from Scarborough Gallery development several years ago, made with the land trust open space piece that was acquired by the land trust back in the mid-90s with the original Windward development. The total parcel acreage is 31, and we think it's a great addition.
Real quick question, Jim. Just to be clear, the acceptance of parcel 1, 2, and 3 is what's being
Yes,
discussed, and the others that you flagged are previously acquired?
yes.
As a practical matter, they'll come to the town in one deed, but they are 3, I think it's easier to represent them as 3 distinct parcels.
Okay. Any questions? Yes,
I
Councilor.
just had one. Jim, when I look at the map and I see where parcel 3 is, and there's land bordering up here along the Nonsuch, is that owned by the town as well or not?
The, that's part of a different abutter.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Holden?
Along the same lines, I have a question. I noticed that there is a right-of-way that comes into, also, what is that?
Woodsville.
Does the town have rights to that right-of-way?
That was part of the original acquisition by the town for, at the time, consideration for a future road extension. When the town accepted the infrastructure back in '09, that was included as being acquired by the town. So it becomes all one piece owned by the town.
And do we have my one other question is, do we have access to the Nunsuch? From any of these two parcels we'll gain, will we get access to the Nunsuch?
It's through the abutting piece of the Scarborough Gallery development. We own that, which abuts the Nunsuch. And our parcels abut the gallery development parcel.
So Jim, just to be clear, that right-of-way, it's not really a right-of-way any longer. It's just contiguous really with 3 and 2.
Yes.
Okay, so there's really no convenient or demarcated way for folks from this development or entering this development to enjoy the open space from this side of the Nunsuch.
They could have acquired it, go through the 60-foot right-of-way. That's not particularly obvious where it is, but I would suspect any of the residents would probably take a risk and wander off into the woods.
Okay. I remember the discussion, I think it was on the board when we talked about not so much the subject we're talking about tonight, but the development as a whole. And although I embrace and endorse acceptance of these parcels, certainly, I think that we might want to consider in the future, an opportunity for the general public to maybe enjoy this open space in a manner that's convenient and safe.
Well, I would expect at some point, through community services and the town's general commitment to the trail systems, that it'll develop some access.
And this provides that
Point.
that foundation to move forward that way.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, and just to add, there is an existing trail that's somewhat informal, but it's well beaten from Woodspell. There isn't a trailhead, but there isn't parking, but there's a trail that enters the property through probably roughly that right-of-way you see in parcel 2, meanders through, and then there's the more established trail that runs parallel to the Nunsuch River on the Scarborough Gallery development piece. So there is already the framework for public access in the trail system that could be, as Jim mentioned, developed further for greater access.
And I don't really have an answer for this certainly, but I think that towards that point, Dan, if we move ahead 5, 6 years from now and say the town wants to make more formal an access point off Woodspell, I wouldn't want the neighbors to believe that all these years that no such opportunity existed, so it would be wise to ensure that that is somehow well-known to the residents there, because I know that that can create some concern.
Yeah, I have that same concern. We've had a lot of controversy lately about parks, and I think having abutters know that this is town land is very important
Yes.
in the scheme of things.
Great. Councilor Sullivan.
Okay. What would be the intent for recreational use?
To lose weight or?
No, would it be, no, I'm just saying, okay, the point I'm getting to is, the question is the town manager. Is, what would the, because I don't want to see us getting into another mess with another ballpark like Black Point, okay? And having the whole neighborhood in an uproar. Would this ever be intended for a ball field at all? Or is it intended for hiking and walking? That's what
certainly,
I'd like to know.
From my conversations with staff to date, it's always been talked about for passive recreation and really to ensure that we're able to protect the Nunsuch River corridor, these parcels being adjacent to it. I suspect these parcels were shown on the original subdivision plan, so it's been 5 or 7 years perhaps since the original proposals were made. Again, I'm not aware of any active recreation plans. I don't think they lend themselves, these parcels lend themselves very well at all to that, given their topography and parking and access, many of the issues already talked about.
Right, well, the point I was getting at is, because I'm looking at the house lot sizes and comparing them to the entire once we accept that the entire lot area that we will have, and there probably is room for a ball field in there, I'm thinking, maybe I'm wrong.
I think Dan knows something more about the topography. I mean, I suspect a fair amount of this is wet.
It's predominantly forested wetland.
Okay.
So to get permission to acquire permits to do all that would be very significant. Plus, by virtue of the original site location permit for the subdivision, there are restrictions associated with development. Trails, passive, that's fine.
Councilor Sullivan, perhaps more to your point, and to Councilor Woods as well, we've learned from experience, whether it's Black Point, Wiley Field, these recreational facilities that sit within neighborhoods, I think we need to do, it's incumbent on us to engage the public, tell them what our plans are. Even for something as simple as a trailhead facility, I think it's important for us to have them understand what our build-out expectations are, and we can, I hope, through that process, accommodate their needs.
Right, I understand, okay, that's fine, but this is what, at the time, this town manager is thinking, and this council is thinking. 20 years, 15, 20 years down the road, there may be a different town manager probably, and a different council, obviously, and their views on this might be different, and I don't want us to get into that Black Point situation again.
Certainly there are ways. You could deed restrict it to ensure forevermore that only certain activities are permitted. I may suggest that 50 years or 100 years, a future council may want that flexibility, but your point's well taken.
Right.
We need to make everyone aware what our goals are.
When it comes to, open space and trails and stuff, accepting, I'm fine, but if we're gonna, open up a hornet's nest like Black Point, I'm out on that.
I just think Jessica was before me.
Well, the only thing I can, and I echo your concerns, it's well stated, Councilor Sullivan, but I think that it's important, I don't know how formal we need to get. Anyone have ideas of that, it's fine, but this memorandum, in my view, is inseparable from the discussion and hence the vote tonight. And at the end, it says here, staff believes the acceptance of parcels consistent with the goals of the comprehensive plan for open space preservation and passive recreational use along the Nonsuch River corridor. I mean, to me, that language and intent is comforting. To some, it may not be, but, I mean, this...
It is somewhat, but like I said, stuff can change. I don't know that we should...
Behind a future council.
Okay.
Was there a public comment session involved with this, or did I get that wrong?
No, you would, just a second, you got that right. I'm going to go backwards. I didn't look out in the audience as I should have.
I don't think we have a motion yet anyway,
No,
do
we don't.
No.
We don't.
So there still will be public comment.
Okay.
If you wanna
Council
let
Holbrook?
them- If you want to backtrack a little
Well,
bit, I can come back to it.
let's have a motion first, and then we can move on, okay?
You have a motion, you want me to talk?
Do we have a motion in a second?
No, let people talk first.
All right. So is that it for initial comment right now? All right. Anybody from the audience wish to speak to the issue?
Martin Tripp, 26 Oceanwood. If this is going to become another rat hole where you throw money down into a park like Black Point, let the builder build houses on it as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to see another Black Point park. You're wasting money, you're throwing it down like there's nobody's business. Just use your heads. And if you want an open space with no provision ever to build on it, I can go with that. But to keep putting money into places like that, I'm afraid you'll have a park every corner of the town, and then we got to maintain them. So I just bring it to your attention. I just assume personally, just leave it alone, forget you ever even thought about it. That's my personal view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp. Actually, your thoughts are consistent with the discussion that we're having here at the council. Anyone else in the public to speak to the issue?
Tim Lindsay, 5 Tenny Lane. What's the catch?
Say
It
again.
seems to be too good to be true. What do we need to do in exchange for 3 acres of land?
Been worked out. It's consistent with how the town has acquired land for decades.
Okay. I didn't know if there was
No catch.
some, okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Wilder, 3 Tide Mill Lane, and I'd like to say I hope you support accepting this property. It protects the Nonsuch River corridor, which is something the Land Trust has been working on for years, and I think based on the fact that it is forested wetland, it probably won't ever turn into a ball field, but I support Mr. Sullivan's concern on that, and I hope you'll accept the property this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this subject?
Hi, I'm Marla Zando, 6 Mitchell Hill Road. I live in Scarborough. I also work for the Scarborough Land Trust, and one of our goals is to protect land along the Nonsuch River. And one day I would actually love to see a trail, a complete trail system along the Nonsuch River connecting all of these parcels of land. And I know the Land Trust has talked to the town about that, and it's a goal of both of ours. So I definitely support this, and the Land Trust does as well. And I've walked this trail. It's a really beautiful piece of land. It's a really quiet, wooded area, and you have to walk on this land, actually, the Barabee piece, to get to the town-owned land. So there's no way to get there without walking on private land. So the town should own it, I think, for that reason as well. There's already a trail there. It's great. I wouldn't want to see it as a ball field at the moment because I think it's important to protect the Nonsuch. But I do support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, close the public comment period.
Mr.
Councilor
Chairman, I move approval of order number 11-76.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, Councilor Hooper.
I'm going to go back to something that I've said before, and it's been a little bit of my bane, is that we get these parcels, which, again, come off tax rolls, once they're out of the tax rolls, they're out. And which makes sense because the builder wants to build as much as he can, but the parcels of this open space that we're getting is like the nastiest open space that you could possibly have because it's oftentimes wetlands that you really can't go out and walk and enjoy. I absolutely appreciate open space, and I know this is not a problem for tonight, but I think we need to really take a better look at how we approach the open space that we're requiring of these developments, so that we have something a little more than knee-deep mud. And that's just, again, part of my own bane. I would like to just have one other thought, that I would like to start seeing these parcels that we're taking in, there's 30 acres tonight, there was 40 acres a couple weeks ago, that we might start thinking about a policy where we somewhat within a reasonable time frame post some kind of a sign that says public lands. Because again, we keep getting these large chunks of lands and these places and these pieces, and nobody knows where any of this is and who owns it, and can you be there? Do you have a right to walk there? Can I take my canoe and trek down to the Nonsuch and go paddle around? I don't know, because I have no idea where I can be and who owns it. So, again, I would like for us to start considering a policy about when these come into our possession, there's something posted.
Thank you. Councilor
I
Sullivan.
can see the high value of accepting this land. But I would like to probably see somewhere in the documentation that it says that the wishes of this council upon accepting this land is it stays open space to recreation trail and not to any sports kind of activity. I don't know whether we can do that or not, but I'd like to see that done. And the other comment I have about this, I was kind of on the fence on whether to accept it or not. It's sometime in the future, I'm going to probably say, no, I'm not willing to accept this parcel of land, on another development, because just like Jessica says, you're taking out of the tax rolls. Like thinking Black Point Park could have remained in the association's hands, for them to do what they, kind of wanted to with the paths and stuff. And then it got turned into a ball field and kind of got forced down their throat. So that's the issue that I see in the future with dealing with these parcels, and I may say no. That'd be just my one vote. But for tonight, I see the value in this, and I'll support it.
And I don't think it's any problem with attaching the council comments and opinions to the documentation that goes with the
Certainly, the
recording of
minutes
this
could
land.
reflect the sentiment of this council that doesn't bind a future council, but it
No.
gives some hint or indication when it's considered more in-depth in the future, short of deed restricting, which would actually require it to be so. I think that's the next best thing. The other point I'd make, there's a bit of a disconnect. These discussions happen at the planning board level. And this is a good example. I'm not sure when this phase of the subdivision went through, but it's been 5 years or better, I suspect.
About 5, 6 years.
You don't see it till the tail end. And
Right.
so I might suggest this is a subject that may be best, at least a conversation with the planning board, so they can be sensitive to what this council's interests are in open space and negotiate open space to meet those needs.
Right. Councilor Rancourt?
Yeah, I think this is really, and Mike, you might be able to back me up on this from your history on the planning board, but this has been a long range. Many of the open spaces we have adopted over the years have been long range, actually planned for as developments came in our town, because we knew there was going to be both active and passive recreation needs as we develop more and more housing. And so this has been a plan really by previous councils and the planning board to require a developer to set aside some public parcels for the recreational use, because everything can't happen here on the high school fields. We already know we've outgrown that, and so neighborhoods really are going to have to pony up to provide, whether it's active or passive recreation in their neighborhoods. It's if they want their kids to participate in sports. But this particular, and I think along the Nonsuch corridor, our talk all along has been to preserve the Nonsuch corridor and to have it be passive recreation only. And I actually have no objection to having a deed restriction placed on this land, so that in perpetuity, the Nonsuch is protected for future generations.
And Dan's here too. I think part of that, I was on the board when we accepted or reviewed this subdivision, and we still have in place a recreation fee, do we not? A per lot fee?
We do,
And-
correct.
And oftentimes, in lieu of a developer paying a fee per lot, called a recreation fee, they may somehow be able to mitigate the cost of that analysis with giving the town
Right.
property for future use. And every property is unique, certainly. And I've walked this property also, back in the day, and it's a beautiful piece of property that does not lend itself, in my untrained eye, if you will, to anything other than just enjoying the woods and strolling through the worn paths and going down by the Nonsuch. So, although I appreciate the concerns, I share those concerns, I really do. And maybe at a later date, this council can certainly, there's nothing that prohibits us from looking at the deed and acting with further restrictions, is there not? I mean, our action today of accepting this land does not prohibit us from revisiting it later and putting the restriction on the deed. Dan, did you have
I was
something
just
to
going to add 2 quick points, just to reaffirm Councilor Rancourt's comments about protecting land along the Nonsuch. The planning board actually tries to somewhat read the council's mind in that regard, and doesn't always suggest town acceptance of open space with particularly residential subdivisions, but rather looks at the location, particularly in the Nonsuch corridor. That's been an area that's been a town-wide priority for decades at this point in terms of land protection. So they do suggest potential town acceptance on lands within the corridor, and they often don't bring that up to developers for open space that may not be contiguous to the Nonsuch or other important areas. So they try to filter some of these lands. And just secondarily, on the deed restriction or conservation easement topic, the property that Jim pointed out earlier, the Scarborough Gallery development piece, that's already has a deed restriction on it. That was part of the conditions of the town acquiring the land. In fact, the land trust is one of the easement holders. So I think it would be, if the council's interested, fairly consistent to fold in these properties into a similar easement if you wanted to go through that process, because the majority of the land along the Nonsuch is already bound by those restrictions. So just so you know.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councilor Holbrook.
I just had one more question about the deed restriction. But that, as far as a ball field, it might restrict you from that, but that would that restrict you from like a small playground-esque area?
Good. You could put, I would imagine, tell me if I'm out of school, but I think you could put in that deed any permanent structure, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I don't want to, but if there's no building, that wouldn't exclude small things like that, would it?
May not.
I'm not exactly sure your question. Certainly, a deed restriction can be as tight or as loose as you wish.
you want. Okay.
Good lawyers can do what you want.
Or a price.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting these 3 open space parcels? Okay, show that to be unanimous. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Dan.
Order number 11-77 is act on the request to enact a pest management policy.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. I'll defer to Tom, and Tom, you may want to hand this off to
Yeah,
the
I'll
ordinance
just talk
committee.
process, and I think it may be best to defer to Council Rancourt as the chair, and perhaps she'll may defer to other members of the committee, all of whom have invested a lot of time and effort in this policy.
Hey, can I interrupt you? Is there, just show of hands, anyone want to speak to this? Okay.
First, introduction.
Real quick introduction, then we'll hear from the public, okay? What do we have, 3 minutes at this point? It'll be 3 minutes, okay.
I won't belabor this. Many of the folks that I think want to speak have been actively involved in this process, but for the council's benefit, a number of councilors have been aware of this, but not actively involved. The ordinance committee really took a number of different approaches. There was a fair amount of consideration to pass an ordinance, which would largely do the same, though I think in the end, the committee decided that a policy, as it relates to town-owned property, would suffice as well. And lucky enough for us, other towns in Maine have considered this, and I'm all about using someone else's policy when it makes sense for us, and plagiarism is encouraged in this case, I think. And case in fact, this policy, although there are some small adjustments to meet our local needs, is largely based on the Camden and Rockport policies, which have been developed and in place for 4 or 5 years now, as far as I'm aware. So I think I'll stop with that, and perhaps Council Rancourt can fill in some other...
Yeah, I'll just hit the highlights. This policy actually came through 2 different sitting ordinance committees, and has been really vetted by, I'm not sure, you were on 2 of the committees. I think everybody else is new, so it's probably 5 people have sat on these, between these 2 ordinance committees to work on this. And basically, we looked at looking at safety issues, looking at best management policies for the use of pesticides or non-use of pesticides. And we have, as Tom said, we did plagiarize from other towns as to what they're doing. But I think the specific things that we did that I thought were very successful is we had a roundtable discussion. We had from people who are interested in using organic pesticides and those who are interested in using non- or chemical-based pesticides. And it was a very informative workshop. I think we had a lot of questions, a lot of back and forth, and we really got a lot of very valuable information. From that, we looked at the existing policies in a number of towns and came up with some specific areas that we wanted to make sure were included in Scarborough's pesticide policy. One of them being that we wanted to make sure we were using organics, and with the realization that organics may be more labor-intensive in the initial years of use, but eventually will save us, or at least we'll be able to break even perhaps with our pesticide treatments. Also, that our green spaces may not look quite the same in using organic methods rather than chemical pesticides. We also wanted to have a very strong notice policy of all the materials that we're using, so we are going to have an ability to be on the website and let people know when we're going to be using these products, and also post at the locations when the date they were used and what the chemical is, so that individual parents or older people, or just you and me, can decide whether we want to walk there or have our kids play ball there that day. And we also included in this policy the opportunity to have an exception to the rule. And we did a great deal of talking about that. For example, if we have an invasive species come into Scarborough, like, God forbid it ever happens, that longhorn beetle, that we would be able to have an exception to this policy and use a chemical if it's absolutely necessary. And there are times when it may be absolutely necessary. So I think those are the high points. And the rest of it, this applies only to town land. We're only talking about all the schools which already cannot use chemical pesticides, and other town parks and ball fields, and along our sidewalks and roadways.
Okay, thank you for that, Councilor. All right, let's hear from the public. So, yes, ma'am. You have 3 minutes. We have many that would like to speak to this, so if we could stay as close as we can to the 3 minutes, appreciate it. Hi.
Okay. My name is Sandra McMahon, and I live at 67 Burnham Road. As a former family nurse practitioner, I think the health of the children of the town is one of the most important aspects that this policy will address. And I'm really glad that you're doing this, and her report really is exciting in what you're covering. The second point, which has already been covered but is terribly important too, is lessening the runoff to the ocean, to the clam flats, to the marsh. And one other good selling point, I believe, is that you look at the towns in Canada and the ones across the country that have done these early policies, many of them really have been able to save money in 3 to 4 years after this has been established as a natural, with natural care, and even found that they use less fertilizers and less water consumption. Not that I don't know that we do a lot of irrigating or anything, public ball fields, but you're using less resources to take care of it. So I just urge you to pass this, and I'm really excited that you're thinking about doing it.
Thank you. Next.
Susan Wilder of 3 Tide Mill Lane, and I'm speaking as a member of Citizens for a Green Scarborough. I strongly urge passage of this pesticides policy. This is a matter of providing the greatest good for our residents, our marsh, our aquifers, and the watershed. I want to address the organics handout that you received in your packets from Community Services. Apparently, representatives of 5 towns with pesticides policies were interviewed. However, those representatives are not identified. When I read through, I was a little concerned with what I saw. It says, of Ogunquit, it reads, they wait for pests to destroy fields and plants, and then they replace them. On Sunday, I spoke with Bob Joyner of Ogunquit's Conservation Commission. His response, to my knowledge, we have never replaced anything. He followed up the next day by email to me saying, I have contacted the town manager and other members of our Conservation Commission. We know of no one who has been contacted by anyone from Scarborough nor is anyone aware of the type of problem cited, waiting for pests to destroy fields. Our fields and parks are in good condition. Algonquin passed their policy in 2009. Of Rockport, the handout reads, "They are not happy with the process of going organic." On Monday, I spoke with Alex Arrow, a former selectman of Rockport, who was instrumental in the passage of their policy. He said, "I completely disagree with that statement." He commented that several town employees are advocates of synthetic pesticides. However, he said councils create policy and town employees must implement it. He also said our school system has had this policy longer than the town has, and we have tremendous athletic facilities. Our fields look great. Additionally, there's a reference made to a pesticide summit at which Paul Tukey, founder of Safe Lawns Foundation and producer of the film A Chemical Reaction, apparently stated there will always be times when you need to spray synthetics. On September 18th, Mr. Tukey responded to my question about that statement. He wrote, "To whom it may concern, when I refer to the occasional need to spray synthetics, I am referring to situations that do not involve the care of grass, lawns, turf. There are situations regarding public health or exotic invasive insects where the only viable control solution involves the careful application of a synthetic pesticide. The care of grass, lawns, turf can absolutely be accomplished in an acceptable manner without synthetic pesticides and fertilizers." And he continues, "In situations where the applicators are knowledgeable, organic lawn care has proven time and time again to be less expensive when the entire maintenance equation is considered. Although organic fertilizers, herbicides, and insect killers may in fact be more expensive in the initial purchase, the use of these products will result in reduced mowing and watering, as well as elimination of aeration, dethatching, and applications of fungicide. Recently confirmed data at the University of Maryland Organic Lawn Trial shows a 75% reduction in watering and a 40% reduction in mowing for the season when compared to previous seasons of chemical lawn maintenance.
Can we summarize, Ms. Muller?
The New York law that specifically bans the applications of pesticides on sports fields has not resulted in widespread collapse of sports fields in that state. And Connecticut has been saving money, producing good fields, and preserving health for the last 6 years with their natural turf policies. That's Paul Tukey. There's no need for Scarborough to do our own testing, as was recommended to you by Community Services. The testing has already been done by other states, and an organic approach has already been proven effective and less costly. In addition, based on the evidence, there's no reason to exempt Scarborough's athletic fields from the pesticide policy. If you believe in healthy fields for healthy kids, please vote for passage of this policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next person has 2 minutes.
Okay. I'm Dr. Jim Meyer. I've lived for nearly 40 years on 274 Black Point Road.
Thank you.
I'm a member of Physicians for Social Responsibility. That's a group of several hundred physicians who employ science to address issues that threaten public and environmental health. And I'm also a member of the Maine Medical Association's Public Health Committee. Above and beyond that, prevention is what I've been doing for the last 7 years, working to essentially put a guardrail at the top of a cliff instead of parking ambulances underneath it. As one of my old professors used to say, we've been identifying young people in the greater Portland area at risk of a first psychotic episode and not waiting until they're diagnosed. And in Spring Harbor, we treat the families and kids before that happens to try to prevent or at least attenuate what may be a lifelong illness. My daughter does prevention right down the street at the MMCRI, doing early cancer research that may 10 years down the road help to eradicate that disease. So I want to speak to the importance of the precautionary principle. The Supreme Court of Canada voted 9-0 in favor of the precautionary principle, upholding a resolution that came from a small town all the way up to the Supreme Court that banned the use of lawn chemicals. And what they basically said is you don't have to prove without a shadow of a doubt that these chemicals are harmful. If there's a chance, if there's a risk of long-term harm, it's better not to take that chance. So I speak strongly in support of this. I admire the work that you all have done to bring yourself up the learning curve. I think I shared the feeling, like many others, that, lawn chemicals were just something people did. I didn't give it a lot of thought. But when you begin to learn about it, I mean, these are seriously toxic chemicals. I talked right before I came here to my pediatrician son-in-law and said, our pediatrician's getting worried about this. Dr. Jack Mann spoke also to the point. When you test for 6 weeks to find out if somebody dies or develops a cleft palate or whatever, that's one thing. If you look 20 years down the line at ADHD, at learning disabilities, at all kinds of central nervous system diseases, I treat those kinds of things in my practice as a child psychiatrist. They're not going to show up right away. So if there's a chance that we're going to be poisoning kids in subtle ways that are going to show up with lifelong disabilities down the line, let's do the right thing. We have other alternatives. I thought the policy was well thought out. I was impressed when I read it, and I'm glad you'll support it. I hope that the decision to support the policy begins to educate other homeowners, even though it doesn't apply to them yet, to start thinking about this issue and maybe making responsible decisions on their own. I envy the school committee who's out there educating everybody about Wentworth. I think the citizens for Greener Scarborough need to match that effort in educating the whole of the Scarborough community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Are you coming or going? Okay.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Peoples. I'm at 152 Spurwink Road, and I've been living here in Scarborough for 20-plus years. I'm originally from Portland, and I love Scarborough. I've grown to love it. It's an important piece of my family. I've raised 3 children. I still have 1 child still in the Scarborough school systems, and I think education is a really important piece here. Before, when my older kids were young, and I was out in the fields, which sports were really encouraged here, I wasn't thinking about what was on the ground. Nobody told me. As I've come to realize and become more educated and decided to keep my farm as green as possible and without any toxins, I've also started to become aware of what is on the grounds, the parks. And with education comes a responsibility. And I think that it's a wonderful thing if this town steps up like the other towns of Maine and Canada have done to say, you know what, we do care about our children and we're going to make a difference here. What a great thing. People will come to this town because of that. I mean, there are some positive results that the town will gain as a result of taking charge now that we know the dangers. There's a lot of materials out there that once you start reading and you realize, again, like people have said, we don't need to wait until we find out that our children are sick. I want my children to come back here and live and know that their land and the water has not been tainted with chemicals that we as a town put on them. We're all here together. We encourage people to do Summerfest, to go to the concerts in the summer, and there are children rolling and running and jumping all over the lawn, yet we can't see what's on there. But if we know that we've made a policy that says we're going to make our best effort as a team, as a town, to say no to those chemicals that we know, and it's been documented scientifically to harm children, then I think this town is a better town because of that, and I hope and I do support this proposed policy. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Allison again.
Hello.
So the Ecos officers and I were talking, and we made a speech saying that all of Maine prides itself on a natural, green, and fruitful environment. We don't want to give the appearance of a gilded state. To pass this policy would be to encourage every part of Maine to go with this movement. Therefore, more pesticide is meant to kill and therefore is harmful to not only citizens but animals too. The use of organic lawn care may well be expensive, but over time will reap several benefits. that are worth the money. All the ECOS officers, including myself, support this and policy, and I hope you will strongly support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all? Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Nanette Tanner. I live at 96 Berwick Road. I have 2 children that are in the school system and very active in various sports. And I feel that in this world today, we're bombarded with a lot of chemicals and we don't have control of. And I feel like this policy is one place, one way that we could make a difference. So I support this. Thank you.
My name is Nancy Kroll, and I want to be clear that I'm not speaking from my role as a librarian at the public library, the manager of the Dandelion Lawn, which we're very proud of. I'm speaking as a citizen. I actually live in South Portland. I have a brother who was a greenskeeper for a golf course, more than one golf course actually, for a number of years. I'm speaking regarding Dr. Meyer's reference to the precautionary principle. My brother is currently disabled, and he has been for 20 years due to neurological issues. We don't know what it is. We don't know how it became an issue. He was diagnosed as having multiple sclerosis for a number of years, and it's clear that it's not multiple sclerosis. But we don't know whether it was the chemicals that he worked within. And I am concerned, obviously. There's nothing we can do at this point, but he is permanently disabled. The precautionary principle says to me, if we have employees who are using the materials, now keep in mind that my brother worked for people who were licensed to spread the material. He was not, but he was the person on the lawnmower who was doing the digging, who was working in the environment that was sprayed with the chemicals. Because he wasn't licensed, we have no idea really what he was involved with. So precautionary principles to me says, if we're not sure, why are we exposing people to it? And I just offer that as a little lesson from my own family background that may be helpful as you deliberate. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else? Mr. White.
Harry White, 135 Running Hill Road. Somebody's got to speak out against this, and I guess I'm the designated one. It's my lucky night. Everything everyone said has been very interesting tonight, but it's all kind of alarmist. I mean, if I listen to it, we're all going to die pretty quick because of synthetic pesticides, or we're going to come down with some diseases or something. Children are, I don't understand it, but anyway. The policy itself, all 10 pages of it, it starts off, the widespread use of pesticides is both a major and vital problem and a public health issue. It says that as a statement. Scarborough would be adopting that as a statement. And there's a lot of discussion about it, but I don't know of any facts. It also says federal regulation of pesticides is no guarantee of safety. So then we're saying the EPA is not to be trusted, evidently. These companies that make these synthetic pesticides do years of testing and spend millions of dollars to make sure they're safe. The EPA duplicates those tests, and in one statement we say, we don't care what they do. We don't care what they say. We know better. I don't think that should be in there. As far as the precautionary principle, when an activity raises threat or harm to the environment or human health, precautionary measures should be taken even if some cause and effective relations are not yet fully established. It's missing one word, scientifically. Scientifically is at the end of that. If you were to apply that to modern medicine, we would have to ban all medications because all of them have side effects. I don't understand that. And they mention here the wing spread statement. And the wing spread statement, if you look it up and read it, is considered a strong precaution. There are weak precautions and strong precautions, and the wing spread is strong. The widely publicized wing spread declaration from a meeting with environmentalists in 1998 is another example of the strong version. Strong precaution can also be termed as a no regrets principle, where costs are not considered and preventive action. So you would be endorsing that. It doesn't matter what it costs, we're gonna spend, you are obligated to spend the money. I don't think that the precautionary principle is a European document. It is by definition un-American in that case, and I would urge that that not be included in any policy that this council passes. A lot of the information seems to be coming from the internet, and I don't know how reliable the information is. I once got an email on the internet that said, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet," and it was signed by Abraham Lincoln. And costs. I heard the number $70,000 mentioned that we spend on it, but I read in the paper that it was over $200,000. No? What are the actual costs? And I read then that the going organic would be $300,000.
We'll have those answers for you after you.
Okay, well, that's what I recall.
Can you summarize?
I should have saved that piece of paper and I didn't. But it's like $100,000 difference. And I'm amazed that this council would want to endorse something like that. I read a couple of weeks ago you were struggling to find $50,000 to provide oil for needy people in Scarborough this coming winter, and yet you're willing to throw away $100,000 on organic stuff, which doesn't work. I mean, we can all be nice and say, well, we're going to have a nice diverse lawn and stuff. The organic stuff doesn't work. It's very simple. I don't understand doing it. I read a fact in National Review magazine. You may be familiar with that magazine, William F. Buckley's magazine.
Can we summarize, Mr. White? Can we summarize, please?
Yeah. Okay. And it said if we were to switch to all organic farming in the United States, the yield would drop 50%. 50%. Millions of people would starve to death. So that's I don't believe it works. I think it's a bad use of our money, and I don't think there's a whole lot of science behind a lot of these statements that were made tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. More? Good evening.
Hello, I'm David Malevsky. I live at 10 Crossing Drive in Scarborough. I also am a business owner that's located in Scarborough. My business is Go Green Landscaping. That's on Snow Canyon Drive in Scarborough. I'm a parent of 2 young children. I've provided a proposal to the town for organic land care for the fields. I'm an accredited organic land care professional through NOFA. I'll just address 2 issues. The 2 main oppositions to organic care is that it doesn't work and that it's too expensive. I think when people say it doesn't work, they're thinking of the first generation of organic land care and turf care, where people basically took a synthetic program and used organic fertilizers instead of synthetics, and then ignored the whole issue of pests as well as weed control. Since that time, just like anything else, as demand has grown, technology has increased, and things have changed. By addressing soil biology, as well as using natural weed killers, you can have much quicker and successful results. And as far as cost, I think my proposal shows that we're actually below what is currently being charged to the town for the care of the fields. And that's all I have to say, so I am supportive of the proposal. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to talk to them further about what we've proposed.
Thank you, sir. Okay. More?
Sir, what is your number?
Hey, sir, you can do that outside if you'd like. Okay. Anyone else want to speak to the issue? Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tim Lindsay, and I'm an arborist representative for Bartlett Tree Expert. We're right here in Scarborough. I've lived here in Scarborough since '75, when I got out of the Navy. My concern is that this is going to be a far-reaching ordinance that's going to impact me somewhere down the road. even though we're looking at private as opposed to municipality. I wanted to look at a little bit about the history of modern arboriculture, if you would. Gypsy moth came into issue in Massachusetts back in 1869. The gypsy moth eradication campaign began between 1891 and 1990. And I'm going somewhere with this, it'll all make sense. It was the first major attempt to manage a landscape pest. It was an invasive pest. I don't know how many of you have ever been involved with gypsy moth. It's pretty bad. It was the first major use of pesticides. Some pesticides that were used, for example, are arsenic back in the day. And this was approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture back when they didn't know as much as they do now. In 1891, a product called Paris Green was introduced. This product was green. It came from Paris. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Not the product. Somebody just mentioned tonight New York. Monday, I heard on the radio that they're having an overflow of cockroaches. And apparently products are not available, or the applicators, so people are taking it upon themselves. They're using, rodent killer, rat, mice, and even was using coyote bait to kill coyotes. That's a side note. Lead arsenic was the primary product that was used. They even experimented with copper arsenic as a combination. A new generation of pesticide, this is the start, the change. The new generation came into being after World War II. Some of you people are familiar with these products. DDT and chloridane, the organophosphates, dursban and orethene, and the carbamates, 7. DDT was good stuff. I say that tongue-in-cheek. It became available to the public. It was a broad spectrum, toxic to a wide range of pests, yet appeared to have low toxicity. Appeared in mammals. It was persistent, it didn't break down rapidly in the environment, so that it didn't even, you didn't have to reapply it as often. It was insoluble in water. It didn't wash off, and it was inexpensive. Then came a young woman named Rachel Carson. She wrote a book. It was called Silent Spring. Note, it wasn't science, but it was a popular book that changed our attitudes. The science caught up. Let me see if I can give you real quick here. No,
We
my time-
summarize, because we only have
Okay,
time.
integrated pest management. We go out, we inspect, and we treat as needed. We don't come in, as days gone by, and blast a property. Treat only what needs to be treated, and if you can use organic products, you do that. Cultural, we try to apply that whenever possible, and just the right plant at the right place. So yes, I would like to encourage you, I applaud your concern for the citizens, but I would encourage you not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm glad to hear that you have a provision in there in case you have an insect that invades. But my concern is in Brunswick, their ordinance doesn't allow the crew people to carry a can of hornet spray. It's that rigid. So I don't support it the way it is now, and like you to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Phoebe?
Good evening. My name is Devin Morrill. I'm with Lucas Tree Experts, based out of Portland, Maine. I'd like to thank the council for providing this opportunity to speak on behalf of this proposal coming forward. I'd also like to thank Mr. White over here for his great testimony. One thing we have to bear in mind tonight is that the word pesticide conjures up all kinds of emotional feelings. It is a dirty word. There's a lot of negative connotation because of the history of pesticides. One thing that I would like to caution you on, and that I pose in this policy as it's written, is the use of the word organics. And we have to remember that organics is just starting to come forward. There's a lot of good science in it. There's a lot of good theory in it. But to pigeonhole ourselves with just the use of organic products leaves a lot of the tools in the regular lawn and the regular lawn management company out. We got to remember that organics are still pesticides. Anything that kills, repels, and there's another one I can't remember right now, is considered a pesticide. We also have to remember that using the word organics doesn't mean it's necessarily safe. We also have to remember that many of our organic products are also exempt from EPA regulations such as MSDSs and labels. So they don't have to go through the same testing process as regular conventional pesticides would. So we have to remember that these products, because they're called organics, are not considered safer. Many of our organic pesticides started with the use of coppers, copper sulfate, copper hydroxide. We also got to remember that arsenic was one of the first organic pesticides that we used. It was great. Unfortunately, it was very toxic. So originally what these scientists did is they took these very toxic chemicals, they synthesized them. They changed the chemistry, they made them safer to use and more effective on the targeted pest that they're using for. I don't find the use or the need of pertaining it directly to organics and pertaining to the use of promoting organic products only, and think that we should take it a step back, yet a step further, and making the ordinance pertain to using products that are the least toxic. And that would limit.
Can you summarize, sir?
Sure.
Thank you.
So in summary, I oppose the ordinance or the policy as it's written because of the use of the word organics. And I think we really need to look back at our educational system. Do we really need these products in the first place? Are our ball fields, are our trees, are our shrubs safer without it? Or do we need to use something to combat a specific problem? So I think it comes down to best management practices, the education of your IPM coordinators in your schools, which I don't believe we're taking nearly as far as we really need to. So I think it comes down to education, and both for the IPM coordinators and also for the general public on the products that we use. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Ken Fengler. My address is 6 Mitchell Hill Road in Scarborough, Maine. I'm a resident, and I'm a landscape contractor. I have been working in the landscaping trade for 20 years. On this policy, I think there's there's obviously lots of different things that you have to consider. Cost is certainly one of them that's been brought up this evening. Costs of traditional chemical methods and costs of organic methods. My landscaping business is full-fledged. I don't just focus on mowing, maintenance, planting, hardscaping. I do all those things. And I've got a customer list where over the last, actually probably just the last 7 years, we've touched 400 some odd customers' properties. I think that it's true that, if the proper steps are taken in the first place and the proper infrastructure is installed on properties, that they are self-sustaining. I think one of the problems that we run into these days is that a lot of properties, we don't have a good foundation. Builders don't leave homeowners in a good situation. They're left with a couple inches of topsoil, lots of sand, lots of clay, and they really don't have, the tools to do much with that, and they become reliant on irrigation, fertilizers, pesticides to try to maintain a lawn the best that they can. Most people are really concerned about their property values. They want their property to look good so that, their neighbors don't give them a hard time and stuff like that. And I know that it's really hard, because I've had lots of people come to me after the fact and say, how can you help me turn this property around? And, right now all I'm doing is fertilizer and, water the best I can. But, it's expensive to do it. But if we take these steps, get these properties to a place where they can be maintained, it really does not take very much. One property I often mention to people is a resident on Kirkwood Circle, right down on the ocean. The house has probably been there 50, 60 years. I go to install a tree on that property one time, 12 inches of topsoil. The homeowner never waters, never fertilizes, never does anything.
Can we summarize?
We have to mow, I'll wrap it up real quick. Have to mow that every week, all summer long, bakes in the sun, and it performs fantastic. And he has dandelions everywhere. But that's because he's got the proper soil to begin with, that it just grows like crazy. I think that if we could, take this organic route, open it up, get some competitive bids, I would be surprised if you can't get organic people to provide the services that are needed on these public properties at a competitive price, if not lower than the chemical ones that you've got now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Al Lappin. I live at 3 Riverwoods Drive. I myself also have 3 children in the school system, actually now 2. One's actually in college.
My kids all played sports, and I built a lot of sports fields in town here. Recently, I just redid the high school infield. I get a kick out of everybody saying how great our facilities look. We got the best fields around. Well, there's a reason why I just had to replace the infield, because it was nothing but weeds, and we had some serious issues down there. I'm totally not in support of the whole policy. We've had a lot of discussions with the different committees, and I applaud the town for hosting us to come in and speak our piece. I own a landscape business in town. I've been in town for 20 years, and my business has been around for 33 years. I get a kick out of the whole talk of we need to go strictly organics. It hasn't been proven yet. Paul Tukey's a dear friend of mine, and I actually looked into buying one of his franchises, Safe Lawns. And after doing a lot of homework on that for over 6 months before I really put a lot of money into this, the answers weren't all there. I would strictly go, I'm not a fan of the policy. I believe in integrated pest management, using the best practices. Hardly any chemicals are used on our fields out here, guys. Very minimal. We are a municipality that doesn't have loads of money. We don't put a lot of chemicals down on the fields. That's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Can we hear from someone who we haven't heard that's interested? No? Okay. Anyone else? If you want to come up again, I'll give you 1 minute. Oh, that's 30 seconds now.
Okay, you go first. All right. So, I'm Devin.
Hi.
I represent ECOS. And I would just like to emphasize that we've heard these good men's arguments, and we acknowledge that they do have a good point to make. I would just like to emphasize that I really don't think that it's worth it to keep pesticides in use if we're going to have health risks, and it's going to risk the safety of the children and animals. Because I know that there are a lot of people here who have children, and they would be pretty devastated if something were to happen to them, if they found out their water was contaminated in some way, and that affected their children. That would
Or
really-
the animals.
Or the animals. That really hit home.
And the cost may be a little more, but really children, people, period, animals are a lot more important than money. And we're not just throwing it away, it's really going to something great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. You ready to deliberate?
Mr. Chair,
1 second. Yes. Yes, Councilman.
no, if you're ready for the motion.
I'm just about ready. Did you have like a closing 15
10
second?
seconds.
Okay.
Dr. Dan Oppenheim was not able to be here tonight, but he's an expert on the science behind this. So the claim that there's no science connected with this is simply wrong. And if he were to inform people tonight, I think he would be persuasive. If his written testimony is needed, I'm sure he'll provide it.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'll close the public session and.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move approval of order number 11-77.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah.
Councilor Sullivan.
Okay, and I do know a little bit about this subject. First of all, I want to speak on the part with clams and shellfish. I'm on the Shellfish Committee. I've worked with them in years past, and not so much this year, but I still get reports from them. Not only does the state of Maine do water quality testing for the clams, we've also, as a council, we gave extra money to the Shellfish Commission to do their own testing. So we've got two parties testing. And pesticides have never been an issue in Scarborough's water. That's the first issue. The fact sheet that we were given, I don't know where it came from, but that's one of the things that I would base my decision on. I didn't have time to call all these people to make sure that their facts are right, but, Tom, can you enlighten us on that fact sheet?
I can. The suggestion that someone's questioning the veracity of that information, first of all, it was provided to the committee perhaps 8 months ago. I'm recalling the timeline. Those of you who are involved could correct me if I'm wrong, but it was early in the process. I'm certain that my community services staff spoke to their colleagues, other folks that are responsible for taking care of fields in those communities. That information was never intended to be a treatise on every person's opinion in those towns, so please appreciate when it came into the conversation and what it intended to do at the time, so I really can't offer
Okay,
much more than that.
that's good. Well, okay. Okay, one thing I noticed in here is it says, "No town department shall authorize or apply non-allowable pesticides." One of those would be Roundup. That means that any weeding of these ornamental beds that we're putting in around Scarborough will have to be hand done. That's an expense. Any curbing or sidewalks that are done presently will have to be done by hand. That's an expense. All these things I see in here, it's just not the cost of going organic. It's the cost that it's going to take in man hours to do other things that can't be accomplished now with herbicides. When we first started this, it was pesticides, and then it elaborated into herbicides now, too. I just don't like this being dropped in my lap like this all at the last minute. I know the discussions that we had before, where we were going to do a